All right, so this is my second attempt to start this live. So I hope there isn't somewhere on YouTube where there's a live with the exact same title, exact same thumbnail, just floating around and you guys are waiting for me to enter. If there is, I'm going to try to find it and get you guys back over here. Welcome to Ask Me Anything. Ask Me Anything. I have a topic today I want to discuss, right? And the topic is based off of the proverb, Nyobola, Merena Madu, Bruzo Mena Mo. Nyobola Merena Madu, Bruzo Mena Mo. I wanted to draw a little diagram to explain this one today. This says more. This is what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to begin talking once we get, say, 10 people in here. Once we get 10 people in here, I will begin talking. For those who are new, my name is Derek Ofadarunwa. This is the Medicine Shell. I teach Igbo spirituality known as Odinala or Odinani Ndibo. If this is a topic that you're interested in and you want to learn more, join our Patreon community, patreon.com/the medicine shell. Why can't I see the chats? Guys, I know some of you guys are in here. Go ahead and say something so I can make sure the chat's working. Go ahead and say something so I can see. Start a QA. Okay, though, they got a thing for start a Q&A. Oh, what? Wait. Answer will appear as chat messages. I don't get it. Hold on. Is this what I want to do? Okay. So YouTube has a new thing now where I can have a QA or Q&A, which is what this is to an extent. So answers will appear as chat messages. Oh, it's prompting people to answer the question. It's prompting. Okay, no, that's not what we're doing today. Maybe we'll incorporate that later. We're throwing that in the trash. Ndewo, Diana, Ndewo, yeah, you got it. Spelling is perfect. Diana Smith, Ndewo, very nice to see your name here. And we need 4 more people to go ahead and begin. As I was saying, this is Derek Ofadarunwa with the Medicine Shell. I teach Igbo spirituality here on the Medicine Shell. If this is a topic you are interested in, join our Patreon community, patreon.com/the medicine shell. That is the #1 way to support the movement. The next way you can support is by taking this link and sharing it in the group chat, sharing it in the WhatsApp, sharing it on the TikTok now that it's back, sharing it on, where else can we share it? Instagram, right? I barely know how Instagram works, honestly. People messaging me on Instagram, I feel bad for you. I don't really check that thing. But share it everywhere that you can. Share it on the Facebook, wherever. Let others who you know would be interested in the topic find us and become a part of the conversation. This is Ask Me Anything. If you have questions, random questions from out of nowhere, questions about Igbo spirituality, Odinani, or how to apply these things that I'm talking about in your own life, go ahead and ask. We need 1 more person. If we can get 1 more person in here, we'll go ahead and begin. If we can get 1 more person in here, we will go ahead and begin. Like, question mark. Frosty says like, question mark. Frosty, I don't know what you're talking about. Hey, Knights, and there, well, I don't think I've seen your name here before, so welcome. Yikes, I had a good question earlier today, but it was, okay, there's like a ghost. Is that a bird? It was a little bird. All right, we've passed 10 people. We say, all right, so I'm going to begin the discussion. So, Frosty says you're confused. Okay, we'll sit tight. We'll work it out. Okay. So for those of you who are new, I'm going to perform something known as Iwaoji, right? So I'm going to bless this occasion, bless this Oji, bless this tray, bless everybody who's listening. And then from there, we'll begin the discussion. Okay. So what I'm about to do is not what the topic is about if you're new. Okay. Oh yeah, Gambido. Okike keruwa. Alawala. Ala nne mmadụ na nne mmụọ. Ala na-enye ndụ na-enye nke ọma dị n'ụwa. Ụmụ gị abịala. Owu obiọma ka anyị ji ekele ụmụ ndị eke, ndị orie, ndị afọ na ndị nkwọ. Ndị mbụ na ndị egede, ndị mmadụ na ndị mmụọ. Eji m obiọma na-ekele ndị ọkpụ na ndị ichie, ndị nta na ndị imo. Ụmụ aja ana na ụmụ kpakpando eluigwe. Owu obiọma ka anyị ji na-ekele gị. nyere anyị uche ndị ichie, nyere anyị uche mmụọ, otu anyị na-enye unu uche mmadụ, anyị na-enye unu ndụ mmadụ, anyị na-enye unu aka mmadụ, anyị na-aga ije mmadụ, mana Chineke bi n'eluigwe kere anyị ka anyị gaa n'ije dị mma, ka anyị mee nke dị mma n'ụwa, ka anyị gọzie mmadụ, ka anyị gọzie ọkpụ, ka anyị gọzie iche. Otu a ka ọ ga-adị n'Eke, n'Orie, na Afọ, na Nkwọ. Ise. All right, let's go. Vlogs, why do you get a gray box? Are you a mod? I didn't make you a mod. So if you're some kind of like a hacker or something, congratulations on the promotion. He said, all right, let's go ahead and get started. This is Ask Me Anything. You guys can ask me anything you want. I'll answer the question, but there is a topic today that I actually wanted to talk about. And it is this concept of Inhyobala mere na mmadụ buru ụzọ mee na mmụọ. Inhyobala mere na mmadụ buru ụzọ mee na mmụọ. Meaning, anything that happens in spirit, anything that happens in flesh first happens in spirit. Anything that happens in flesh first happens in spirit. According to the ancestors, everybody comes into the world as two things. Madu na mmụọ. Madu is what we can call our physical existence. There's a little bit more to Madu, but let's go ahead and simplify and call it the physical existence, right? Madu also pertains to things like destiny and so forth, but that's another discussion. And then you have this thing called Mo. So according to our ancestors, everybody comes in a physical form, and then around us, there's this aura of light that some can see, most cannot see. Debbie says this is also a teaching in Christianity. I believe it because it's real. So physical self you can see, you can interact with your five senses. The rest of me you cannot see. The rest of you I cannot see. Some people are gifted with the ability to see and sense this aspect of self intuitively. Most of us are not. I am not one who can sense it, though I have ways of detecting when it's around and different things about it and that kind of thing, right? So the light body that we call spirit in the West, it is the Mo. You can also translate as your aura, your light body. And then there's Madu, your physical body. So this particular saying says that anything that happens to the flesh first happens to Mo, first happens in spirit, meaning that the physical is on a delayed reaction of the spirit, that the physical is almost like a reflection of what is happening in spirit, that the song is written in spirit and read and performed in the flesh, but that the ultimate deciding place is in that light space, the Mo space, the spirit space, right? So this particular principle, right? I tried to make a little diagram for the plot, right? Is you guys can read that. You can squint, right? Mo, the spirit, right? Madu, person. Okay. Picture this like a mirror, like a lake. Maybe you're looking into a lake, you're seeing yourself, a mirror in the bathroom, just some kind of reflexive thing. Whatever this one is doing, this one is going to follow in real time. But that if I want this one to do something different, it won't be the reflection that I appeal to. If I have something on me, I'll put this little yellow thing. If I have something on me and I'm looking at my reflection, I'm not going to pick it off on the reflection. I have to pick it off in its original principle, in the first place it appears, which is in Mo, which is in spirit. Anything that you are, anything that you do, anything that you become, and anything that is done to you is first done in Mo. And therefore, one of the nice parts, or one of the gifts of Odinani, is teaching you how to be intentional in your Mo space, how to be able to sense it, interact with it, be in touch with it, and amend it if you need to amend it, right? Because as the Ilu says, now, a lot of this might sound very up there, but I will bring it into reality, right? I'll bring it into something that we all do. A lot of us have ran into these situations where we want something for ourselves. We want something for ourselves. Okay. We want something for ourselves. And once we are seconds away from it, all of a sudden, every self sabotaging instinct we can possibly have kicks in. Something inside us says, no, 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 don't do that. Don't go through that door, right? Don't click that button. Don't do that thing. Don't receive that thing. It's something inside us makes it hurt to go to the next step. We get this rush, sometimes a rush of anxiety. I know it happens to me a lot. We get this rush of anxiety, this anxious feeling, right? Right before we receive that thing that we want, right before we make that big change that we want, right? You see that job and it's like paying $200,000 a year, blah, 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 that kind of thing. And you don't, yeah, don't apply. You're not going to get it. Don't apply, that kind of thing, right? That's what this looks like. That's what this looks like. Now, when I say these things, when I start talking about Odinani and ancestral spirituality, people, I don't know if people are picturing like a bunch of like CGI blue lasers and fairy dust and all that stuff, but all these things I'm talking about is real life. So we feel these things every single day. We interact with these things every single day, right? So why is it that you will see a job that pays you $200,000 a year, and then all of a sudden you'll say, no, 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 don't do that, right? Right? Because over here, somewhere over here, you don't believe that's who you are. Ndewo, Angelica. Somewhere over here in more in spirit, you don't believe that's who you are. That's not real to you. That's not you. That's not yours. That's not your time. That's not your space. That's not your name or title to answer. That's not your thing to have, take, receive, and so forth, right? So there's no way you're going to be able to do it here. A bunch of funny things from here are going to start happening to make sure you don't receive it here because you're now bending your perception of reality. You're now doing something that shouldn't be done, right? Naturally, when we're on a bridge and you look over a bridge, a part of you makes sure not to jump, right? Even if you want to, there's a hesitation. Even if you want to jump, you got to fight over yourself to jump, right? Because over here, you won't survive that thing. The reality is you will not survive that thing, right? That kind of thing. So everything in here, be it the anxiety, the fear, the cold feet, all that hesitation, is going to kick in to stop this part from doing what it's going to do or doing the thing that it's not supposed to do because you know as a fact. But let's take it away from danger. Let's take it in just regular, ordinary stuff, right? You want to ask somebody out. Yeah, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Why? Because somewhere over here, it has already been determined that's not who you are. You don't deserve that thing. Okay. So in order for you to be more intentional in operating in this space, the first step is to believe and to understand that this space exists and it's real, right? And that this space, even though, the initial analogy I used was a reflection, right? Where's that little thing I had on my shoulder? We're gonna use my kid's scissors, right? I have this thing on my shoulder now. Now I can't go into the screen and pick it off. I can't go into the screen and pick it off. I have to pick it off at the original principle, which is where I placed it in more, right? Which is why we say in here, madu, bruzo mena more. Whatever happens in madu first happens in more. Okay. So in order to change what's going on over here, you have to actually first change what's going on over here, right? And this thing right here, more your light body, your aura body, does not behave, look, feel, or exist like this part. If I want to go to the kitchen, I just use my legs and I start walking over here. If this thing wants to go to the kitchen, there's an entirely different way to make that happen. If this one wants to believe that it's capable or it deserves to apply for the $300,000, $200,000 job, or ask out this and that person, or be more social, or be less nervous and less intimidated, and that kind of thing, right? There's a way to move about in this thing, right? Think about like things like imposter syndrome. Let's say this part doesn't believe something about yourself. Like in here, you're not, I'm not this thing, I'm not this thing, I'm not this thing. And then for some reason, this part gets placed there. This part is going to constantly pull you away from it, right? And we give it term, I have imposter syndrome, right? I've had that kind of thing. So Angelica asked a question. If Mo and Madu are reflections of each other, are they mirrored? Like right, hold on. Like right now, the text on the whiteboard is backwards. I realized it was going to be backwards when I first put it up. I was like, all right, I think I have to just deal with it. It's backwards because it's mirrored on the camera. Or am I doing more backwards of each other? No, I don't think it's backwards. When I use mirror, I use it as like an analogy, right? So it's not going to follow the principles of mirroring exactly, if that makes sense. Now, within more, we can go further into it. Within more, there is a negative reflection of the self, right? There's the reflection of the self that's facing the same direction you are, and there's this reflection of self that's facing against you, right? In a lot of Western, maybe Eastern, that kind of, they call it the shadow, right? They call it the shadow, yeah, that kind of thing, right? Okay, I'll do more. But no, not the whole of more is facing the same way you're facing. I'm just using reflection as an analogy. Okay. So, one of the best ways to make this part change, right, is through ritual. I have a video called Ritual Explained. I give all of the different tools you can use to form rituals that make things change for you, or that make changes in more so that the changes can happen in Madu. And feel free to take a look at that particular video, right? Now, outside of rituals, some of the more accessible ways, though difficult, ways to change the moi space is by recalibrating or changing what you believe about yourself, right? What you believe about yourself. What you believe about yourself. So, for example, and I don't like doing this whole thing where like there's this thing that you'll oftentimes when people talk about these topics, they'll be like, rich people don't even wear suits. They just wear hoodies, and then you're supposed to not wear hoodies, and that's going to make you. I don't believe in that bullshit. That's not what I'm here to talk about, right? But I will say this: a person who is a multimillionaire, if that person does something and ends up with $0 or negative $1 million the next morning, that person never stops, or it's hard for that person to stop believing they're rich. They just don't believe they have a bunch of money right now, right? But if I have negative $1 million for some reason or zero, yeah, that's not my thought. That's not going to be my thought process, right? Because that person already believes themselves to be a certain thing, right? Which they have confirmed through their actions or through their life or through their birth, right? Statistically, more through their birth, right? But they believe themselves to be a certain thing. And when that thing is not reflected by a bank account or whatever, it doesn't change the thing they believe. And because it doesn't change, it's easy for them to get back to where they were, right? Because it doesn't change, it's easy for them to get back to where they were. So, in order for a person to move from space A to space B, you have to believe those things about yourself, right? Now, if it's very difficult to change what you believe about yourself, we have a group study on Patreon. So if you're interested, it's patreon.com/the medicine show. We have a group study on Patreon. And one of the really cool things that one of our community members shared was he said that there's a ritual that he does where he writes a bunch of beliefs about, like, just a bunch of beliefs, like I'm handsome, I'm this, I'm that, da, 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 and he reads them out loud, and he can feel the ones he believes and feel the ones he doesn't believe. You understand? Feel the ones he believes and feels the ones he doesn't believe. And because he can do that, he can gauge his actual map of what this thing is calibrated to be. Okay? Gauge his map of what this thing is calibrated to be, right? And in order for him to change this thing, he has to know what's going on here. And that's his way of knowing what's going on there. So I'll give that one out to you guys. Write down a bunch of affirmations on a piece of paper and read each one out loud, right? And how do you feel when you say each one? Do you really believe it? Did you hesitate to say that? Did that come out funny? Then, ritual number 2, Regularly read them until you believe them. Until you believe them, or believe the ones you need to believe. You understand, right? So I used to, for a point, I used to think I was an introverted person, right? I used to think I was an introverted person. And I stopped believing that. I stopped calling myself that, and it became a lot easier to not be introverted, right? A lot easier. It's something I've been working on this year, just being more social, getting out there. Based on what I do, I'm always online in front of a screen, so dealing with real, actual Homo sapien human beings that are in my face. Not that you guys aren't real, right? But I can only assume. I could only assume. But dealing with the people right in front of me used to be a lot more difficult. When I was younger, right? And the thing is, I don't think I had been an introvert. I have not been an introvert probably for decades. But because I was an introvert as a child, I continued to believe that about myself and carry it and carry it and carry it. And I'd meet people, I'd be like, oh, I'm shy, I'm an introvert. They'd be like, no, you're not. And I'm like, no, yes, I am. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I try to make all these little excuses, but it's like, okay, maybe I'm not that person anymore. But sometimes we carry those beliefs in this thing and carry it going, right? There's something I say a lot in our group study on Patreon, right? Patreon.com/the medicine show, by the way. There's something I say a lot, right? I think if you come to the group study, you've probably heard me say this more than once, right? And I always bring this up, and it's the fact that this part right here, your physical body, your flesh, right? 7 years ago, you right now and you 7 to 8 years ago, there's not one cell in your body that you share in common. All of the cells in your body from 7 years ago have died and a new one has come up, right? So this thing that I'm calling me, physical, is entirely new in comparison to me when I was first calling myself introverted, right? I have shed the that skin, a new one is here. It'll be in 7 years, this will be completely unrecognizable. One of the things that keeps us whole through the movement of time is this right here. Is this right here. Now, this doesn't need the benefits of time or the laws of time in order to shed, right? Shy isn't introverted. I don't think I'm either. So whichever one, I don't think I'm either, but I believed it. I believed it. So, but anyways, yeah, this one right here doesn't need time to shed. It can be shed through deliberate intention by what you do over here, right? By what you do over here, right? So one of the best ways to handle the ritual in Odinani, what we do in Odinani is that we have an altar, right? And this altar represents who we are. We have something in our altar that represents our creator. We have things in our altar that represent our ancestors, the ancestors we can call by name. We have things in our altar that represent our Chi'uwa, Chi'uwa, right? Your Chi'uwa is the part of you that is undying. It's the part of you that that was you, that was attached to you in the past life and is with you now and will be with you in the next life and so forth. It is also the part of you that knows and carries your purpose. It is here for the sake of your purpose, right? And so I have something that represents that. Then you can put whatever else that represents you, right? So think about like the analogy I typically use is this like one of them little solar system diagrams where you have the sun and you have all the little planets and that kind of thing, right? That altar, being able to go to that altar and communicate with that altar and have that altar feel real and give that altar life and bring that altar to life, infuse life into that altar, that gives you the ability to have a handle on more the way your day-to-day physical body gives you a handle on Madu. Okay, so we have this altar. We have a regular practice of communicating with it by greeting the different elements of ourself that we cannot necessarily see, but that they're there. Our ancestors, our Chihuahua, our our sorry, someone sent me a very funny message. Our Chihuahua, our Chi, all these different things, right? And so once you get a handle of it, you can then begin the process of commanding, right? Today we're going to do this. This week is going to be this. I am this person. I am this. I am this. I am that. Then once you have a good handle of your whatchamacallit, your moi, You can go there and read what's in the affirmations more confidently and feel more that it's more real. And once you're able to feel that those things are real, things like imposter syndrome, uh, self sabotage, all these different things that your moi uses to preserve your sense of identity will now be more in your hands, right? So that's really what I wanted to share. If you guys have questions, go ahead and ask. And then I think I'm going to start these ones with topics more when I have topics to share. I usually have topics, but I try to let them come out as they come out naturally, and sometimes they don't. So, all right, I'm going to go to the beginning and see if you guys have any questions. Do you know about the Serpac Brown card? No, I don't. If you want to explain that, Diana, I would appreciate it. If you want to explain that, I would appreciate it. Okay. During libation, I hear voices with and around my head as if they're speaking in accordance, and rising feeling from right. Okay, rising feeling from within. That rise is to get warm and hot. Can you assist me in understanding? Lumen XTI. So the thing you're asking me would be better suited to ask like a Debia, right? Um, Also be mindful too, because not everything is spirit. Sometimes it's, well, everything is spirit, but it sometimes it's what we would classify as psychiatric. So I don't know enough about the psychiatric world to kind of advise you on that. And then I think the thing you're asking would be better suited for like a DBA, like a specialist, right? A DBA is like a if you don't know, a DBA is like a doctor for spirit, right? A doctor for spirit. So, but either way, what you're sharing with me has been shared with me before. It is not super abnormal as long as it is not blocking you from being the person you were born to be or here to be. If it's not causing you any torment or extreme stress, I don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever. I don't think it's a bad thing whatsoever, right? And if that's part of who you are, then it sounds like a gift to me, unless it's something else, right? Unless it's hurting you. So if it's hurting you, let me know. If it's causing you problems, let me know. But you're probably sensing something that I myself can't sense, but there are others like you who can sense it, and it's really nothing wrong with it. If you want something bad enough, don't achieve it. Okay. No words. Okay. If Madu and more. Okay, we asked that. Man, I've seen a lot. Man, I've seen people that got sick because they didn't believe in that concept, even though someone would have pointed out the problem to them. It's interesting you bring up the word sick because most of the medicines we're dealing with in the West, right? It's really just this. It's this. It's the fact that you believe it does something, that something begins to happen over here. It's the fact that you believe a change is being made, that something begins to happen over here. Your capacity to operate in this space, which is enhanced by physical, mental, spiritual health, right, has positive outcomes for how things like medicine work over here. You understand? I just learned that and someone correct me if I'm wrong, if we got like pharmacists in here, but I just learned that cold medicines are basically placebos, right? Like cold medicines, or I didn't just learn it, I think I learned it probably like a few months ago. It was like in the news, or like it was in the zeitgeist of the internet, that a lot that it all it does is just make you sleepy. But because that sleepiness and the warm mentholy thing that a lot of them have make you feel like something magical is happening, it begins the process of healing, or enhances the process of healing. Most medicines, all they do is tell your body to do something, right? It's not really the medicine that's doing it, it's you, right? But nothing wrong with medicine, but sometimes there are different ways to tell your body to do things. There are different ways to tell your person to do things, right? And it goes far beyond just taking medicine, right? I believe it. Octavia Butler did that. Interesting. If you, Angelica, if you have some details on Octavia Butler's story with that principle, that'd be really interesting. Infinite peace, love, prosperity, and positivity to you all. Udonwane. Ryan says that Jesus loves you all so much and desperately wants a relationship with you. All right, he can call me. He can subscribe to patreon.com/the medicine shell. let Jesus know that we have a full Odinani library. So if Jesus wants to learn anything pertaining to ancestral spirituality, we have over 300 books, articles, documents from all sorts of ranges in time and history. So let's say Jesus wants to learn about Nemiri, or what some would call Mami Wata, or Oshun, right? We have a whole folder dedicated to her with books and everything like that. But I would recommend Jesus check out the recommended folder. And in the recommended folder, I have, I think off the top of my head, about 7 books. So if you want to just, if you're just getting started, you don't understand all the stuff I'm talking about, ancestral spirituality, Odinani, that kind of thing, you can start from the first book on the list and then work in order of complexity and depth, right? And most people find their natural place that they, okay, I've had enough and that kind of thing. So patreon.com/the medicine shell. Also let Jesus know that we're starting our Igbo language classes. I know that when he was they were writing all the books of the Bible. They didn't write an Igbo. They didn't write, they were like to Tyr and to maybe, I don't know, Carthage or something, but they didn't write one to Aguilera. So if he's ready to learn Igbo, you can sign up at www.keru.me. We're starting the Igbo language class on the 29th, and it's the best Igbo language program in the world. It works. I sent a message to all of our alumni on email in Igbo, and I almost had a tear run down my eye how many responses I was getting back in like perfect, fluid, just natural Igbo, right? And I can tell it wasn't all like Google Translate or Chat GPT, because like the word choice was like, I had a cousin that says that I use Igbo to speak English. And so the word placements and stuff was like a person using Igbo to speak English, but it was still perfectly fine and natural, right? That kind of thing. Ademma. Where are we at? Good night, guys. 11 p.m. here. Work tomorrow. Debbie, good night. Good seeing you. I think this is my first time seeing your name here. So if we can get you here regularly, I would appreciate that. Guys, should I be having these studies earlier? I be having these studies earlier, or these lives earlier? Or is this a good time for everybody? Is this a good time for everybody? Let me know. Let me know. Uh, can we turn our senses off? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Placebo effect. Some senses turn off by themselves, right? Spiritual and physical senses. I'm gonna struggle to say this word. Astrophy. 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 Experience astrophy, right? Without use, they lose their dexterity and so forth. Odinani worldview on adultery. So as far as Odinani goes, there's not Odinani doesn't Odinani is like science, right? In fact, Odinani is science, right? And so it would be like, what's the scientific view on adultery? Rules on adultery are made by people and communities, right? People in communities and that kind of thing. Universally, most Igbo communities would say adultery absolutely not, illegal, bad, right? There are certain like communities that have like their own certain rules about adultery. So, for example, in my community, in my community, it is an abomination for a husband to have to, it's an abomination, like a husband whose wife is cheating on him and he knows it and he's like with the program, aka a cuckold, is an abomination in my community. It is considered a spiritual abomination in my community. And if this is caught, there's a cleansing process that happens to your home and wherever the intercourse is said to have happened and so forth. So, but in some communities, that's not an abomination, right? So, rules about adultery are made inter-community. You're not going to find a community that's cool with the concept of adultery. Um, uh, yeah, that's really it. Yeah, that's really it. If another interesting thing, if if like let's say you're married and you get pregnant, um, no matter who the dad is, it's still you and your husband's child. So it's not based on like DNA or anything like that, or like that kind of thing, right? So if you have an extramarital thing, and you have a child, it's still the husband's child, and so forth. But I'm sure life would be pretty hard for the kid, the who is the product of that situation, just because whatever. It's not causing problems, it's more edifying. He said, wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so I've heard people have told me that that's their experience with things like libations, when they do ritual, when they visit rivers, that they're actually having a communicative experience, right? That they're having that. And so you have you have a gift, right? You have a gift, and if you're embracing your gift and moving with your gift, then you should be all right. Okay. All right. Somebody said, "I prefer the night." Cool, cool, cool. I've been here before. Been a minute. Okay. All right. Debbie, really nice seeing you here. Who done one? Duran, yes. L.A. fires, political situation, eerie. Very serious, interesting. As it should be. Okay. All right, y'all. This is Ask Me Anything. If you guys have questions to ask me the questions. Once the questions run out, I run out. So far, you guys seem like you're good, you know. I don't know. We'll see where we go from here. Topics you want to bring up, right? Topics you want to bring up pertaining to Odinani or anything beyond that. But Odinani is my specialty. Anything else you might you might hear some shit. So I don't know. As it should be. Da, da, da. All right, guys, we're doing a 5 countdown. Indigo Phoenix goes, okay, Indigo, I'll give you some time. I don't know. Yeah. All right, the shot clock is on. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. Do you do any manifestation rituals? Do I personally do any manifestation rituals? Yes, absolutely. Right. I do a manifestation ritual probably every morning. Some mornings I don't feel like it. Right. And it's a very simple process. I go to my altar, I present something, and I decree or I command what the day is going to be like, what I'm going to experience, what I'm going to receive, what my family is going to experience, what my family is going to receive, and so forth, or what we're dedicating this day to, and that kind of thing, right? This is to me better than any drink of coffee, 5 hour energy, whatever it is you use to get going in your day and make things happen. And because I have set forth and said that the thing's going to happen, I don't encounter anything that that my spirit is going to pull me against or say, no, 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 this is not proper, right? So that's one that I do. Another one that I do is if I have something very, very serious, like something like very serious that I'm intending on making happen. One of the things I have done is I will write a note, right, of what it's going to be. I will say that this is what it is. Da, 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 da. This message is for name all my aunt. Okay, maybe I'm going too fast. I write the note of whatever it's going to be, whatever reality we're going to make happen, right? And the way my altar is, the thing that represents me in the altar has an open head, right? It's actually like a flower pot. And so I write the note, I say this is going to be this is going to be that, and I put it in there and I leave it there. I don't come back to the topic, I don't bring it up again, I don't think about it, and so forth. I just say this is going to happen within this set of time and I put it there, right? But I don't use manifestation a lot. I use fortification, right? Fortification feels more natural to me. And fortification is I'm going to go do this. I need you to be with me. This is the direction I'm going. I need to be uh, uh, fortified, protected, that kind of thing, and so forth, right? To me, that feels more natural. Some people are more in tune to manifesting and so forth. So I've used notes to manifest before. I of course, decree regularly. But again, that's more fortified. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm about to do. I need you with me. So on and so forth. Walk with me, enjoy this thing with me, see this thing with me, that kind of thing. right? Do in more as I'm doing in Madu, right? And then I used to have an Aquala Omomo, right? Which is an altar piece that is like a feminine energy altar piece. This feminine energy altar piece allows you to bring things in and out of reality, right? In and out of reality. It is linked to creativity, uh, just birthing, bringing new, making things come towards you rather than you going after it, right? Making things come towards you rather than you going after it. So I used to have one, and it served me very well. We were able to make a lot of things happen as far as that one goes. I can't remember why I don't have it anymore though. And it's not that it's bad or anything is wrong with it. I just don't remember why I don't have it anymore. I don't remember. I think it has something to do with my daughter. I think my daughter kept like as a baby, she'd go and take it off the altar and take it off that specific one over and over and over. So I said, maybe this is a message. I'll take it off, right? Because again, I'm a dude and it's a feminine energy thing, so I didn't mind. Had to rush and put the question. Made me nervous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can we catch masquerades in the States? Yeah, so a lot of town meetings and the things like Igbo Fest, they've started having masquerades. People are starting having masquerades at their weddings as well. So in every town, there are like the different Igbo people that live there will have these things called their town meetings. And the town meetings are everybody from a certain town will meet. Um, on set days and that kind of thing. And they'll usually have like an end of the year party, sometimes celebrations for like different holidays and things like that. And a lot of them will have masquerades, especially in places with like a big Nigerian population like Houston. Um, I think places in I've seen one in New Jersey. Trying to think of where else. Atlanta, New York, right? These are places that I've seen have masquerades and so forth. Um, so town meetings, and then people are starting to have them at their weddings. But with weddings, you got to know somebody. With the town meeting, I don't know how you're gonna get in there. I mean, you can get in there if you can find one. They're not gonna like be against you being there. It's not an issue, and so forth, right? Just maybe say I'm just trying to connect to my ancestors, so on and so forth. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, and that kind of thing. So it also helps you have like a DNA test, but if you don't need it, you can just go there and say, "This is who I am, trying to connect to my ancestors," right? Which might be confusing if you're like a Caucasian, So I don't. Maybe you'll think of something else if you're a white person, right? But yeah, town meetings and Igbo Fest had a lot of masquerades, so that was really cool. Um, if you live in a place with a big population, you should be. I think it's becoming easier to find them. Before it used to be a no. Wadimma. Okay, so I think I missed a question. It should be friends don't let friends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an abomination in my town, man. It's an abomination against the earth, right? Can we create masquerades in states? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Do you identify as spirits, and then you channel it. After channeling it, you masquerade the person up, and then they go and operate in the world as the spirit. A lot of masquerades, these are like the spiritually charged ones. Not all of them are. So a lot of those have like a period of fasting, right? So the person will fast for an extended period. They'll have like a limited diet. Maybe they only can only eat a certain leaf. They can only eat cola. They can only drink water, that kind of thing. Sometimes it comes with isolation. Then when that period is over, they'll put on the masquerade and go walk in the world as it's. Sometimes that period is like prolonged dancing. That person could like I have a friend who was a part of which society is he in? I think Ekeleke. Ekeleke, yes, he's in the Ekeleke Masquerade Society. He actually used to teach with Kedu, our Igbo language and Igbo medicine school. So, but he told me he was in Ekeleke after teaching. I'm like, I wish he would have told me before. I think the students would have been interested in hearing about that. But he's a part of Ekeleke, and one of the things they used to do, I think it's Ekeleke, and one of the things he used to do in Ekaleke is the way they teach you is you'll go at night as like it's like a bunch of kids and like the dancers and things like that. And they'll just be playing drums from let's call it 8 p.m. to like 8 a.m. Just playing the Ekeleke music from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then you just get up, and if you start feeling it, you get up and go do the dance. If you start feeling it, you get up and go do the dance. And you can do that over and over until like it just becomes intuitive. So Ekeleke, if you don't know, it's like a stilt walker. It's like a stilt walker. If you guys have heard me tell the story of the Chocoloko is a different dialect's way of saying Ekeleke. It's the same bird. The story of the Ekeleke is that in the beginning of humanity, when we lost our connection to the Father Creator, and we began to establish our connection to the Mother Creator, we wanted to reestablish our connection to the Father. And so we looked around the world for anybody who remembered the Father's name, and nobody remembered the Father's name. And so one day people came by this riverside, and there was a bird that was saying that lost divine name, which was Chuku. It was saying Chuku Chuku, Chuku Chuku, Chuku Chuku, Chuku Chuku. And so people felt that since this bird is able to communicate with Chuku, we need to send this bird back to Chuku to reestablish that connection so that Chuku can answer our calls. So they captured the Chocoloko, and they were going to cut the Chocoloko's head off and sacrifice it and send it to Chuku. But the Chocoloko told them to stop, and that they can't kill the Chocoloko, but they should instead sacrifice his brother, the one that's always coming to your house looking for food, which was the chicken. And so instead of killing the Chocoloko, they ended up killing the Okoko, which is the chicken for sacrifices. But there's a part two to that story where, and you see it, they do like the Ekeleke dance, they do a play that displays it, where the Ekeleke becomes a protector for the people, right? The Ekeleke or the Chocoloko becomes a protector for the people. And the Ekeleke as a protector in the play, the one Ekeleke has a gun, like a rifle, right? And as the Ekeleke is dancing, there's a leopard that is moving through the crowd and moving through that kind of place. And what the leopard masquerade will do is it'll grab people, it'll grab kids, it'll grab usually kids and girls, right? And cause commotion and that kind of thing. But it's usually sneaking around, sneaking around, sneaking around. Now, the idea is that it's going to grab people. I've never seen it grab anybody. It is always just walking, sneaking around, sneaking around. And then the ekeleke, the one with the gun after they do their dancing and that kind of thing. And these are stilt walkers, so they're on stilts. And if you see them, it's kind of like an abstract of a bird. They're on stilts, and one of them is going to have a gun. If you see the full play, not everybody sees the full play. And the one with the gun will then identify the leopard and then chase it and that kind of thing. Everybody cheers that the hero has defeated the leopard and so forth. And then after that, the Ekeleke and all of them go away. So, but the way they did the Ekeleke was for an entire night they didn't sleep. They would just play the music, play the music, play the music, and then the kids would try to put the stilts on and dance a little bit and fall and dance a little bit and fall. And then by morning time, the kids were really locked into their masquerade. When the morning comes and they're able to do the dance, they get their coverings and stuff like that, and then they go into town and perform the masquerade dance, right? So I don't even know what the origin of that question was. Do you do any? Okay, no, no. Yeah, or are they in the States? So I don't think they do Ekalika in the States, but there's a whole bunch of different ones they do. Not all of them are like super spiritual. Some of them are just entertainment, right? So I think you see a lot more of those in the States, right? Somebody told me they're trying to bring Ajofia Newi to the US. Ajofia Newi is the only masquerade with a Spotify account. And a hit album, right? A hit album on the month. All right. Can taking the name Ikenga have? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If you answer Ikenga, you'll begin behaving like Ikenga. Yeah, absolutely. Answering the name Ikenga absolutely affects a person's life path. Odemma. Difference between Odinani and Odinala is dialects. Dialects. In Central Igbo, they say Odinala. Where I'm from, we say Odinali. Odinali. So, but Odinala is the Central General Igbo. Now, when I first started the channel, it was hard for me to say Allah. I used to say Allah. So I switched from saying Odinala to Odinani because that repeated A was hard for me. But now it's easy, Odinala. So Odinma. New Jersey question mark where? Where the Nigerians are at. I don't I don't know New Jersey well, but I've seen like if you go YouTube, Igbo, New Jersey, Masquerade or something like that, I've seen it, right? So that was my example. Has to be Newark, maybe. I don't know New Jersey very well. What is the history? Okay, what is the history slash acceptance of male homosexuality in Odinala? I noticed a gede dance. So I'm trying to think if okay, a lot of women's dances are being done by men, and in the name of doing an Igbo dance, right? So or are you talking about the Abobia ones where they dress up where like they're girls, they're like women and they walk about and that kind of thing. Is that the one you're talking about? Because I don't know if it's called Egedege, but I could be, maybe you saw something that I don't know. But a lot of guys are doing women's dances. Any dance where you bend forward, where you're bending forward, is a woman's dance. You're not really. It used to not be a thing to do back in the day for adult men. But a lot of people, with the name of I'm doing an Igbo dance, and just and you'll see them. It'll be a very girly kind of movement, that kind of thing, right? And as much as I want to say everybody can do what they want to do, I feel like ultimately what that does is just it turns it into a male dance, right? A lot of the masquerades that men do, like ooh, started out as a woman's masquerade, but now only men do it, right? And that kind of thing. So it's just encroaching on more casual dances. But yeah, homosexuality. I think it's really up to the family. Usually families won't be super happy or not going to be happy about it. Even till the Nigerian parents say it doesn't matter if you're gay as long as you marry a woman. And I think that sums up the general attitude. But it's not our, right? It's not like a spiritual or like an abomination against the earth or anything like that. It's not, right? A lot of people try to tell you it is, and it's absolutely not. And if they tell you it is, you will ask them what is the ritual that is done once homosexuality is committed. They got nothing. They got nothing, right? Nothing happens. If incest is committed, there's a thing you do. There's a specific thing that the whole community has to do. If this is committed, there's a specific thing the community has to do. If this is done, that kind of thing. There are certain people that are called to clarify that area and that kind of thing, right? But yeah, so as far as like between Allah and human beings, there's no real like you can't do that, you can't be gay, that kind of thing. That doesn't exist. It's just not celebrated. Like male homosexuality, the average person's general attitude about it is it's not something that is celebrated. Now, on the flip side, female homosexuality tends to be more celebrated, and you find that trend all over the world. You find that trend all over the world, right? Um, and so forth, where a masculine woman is more historically more celebrated than a feminine man, and so forth. So there, the tradition of like women having wives, and people will say some bullshit. Oh, they only do that when they can't have kids. Okay, it's a lot of ways to have kids. It's a lot of ways to have kids, right? Now, some communities, because you can make like as the Oha, the group, the community can make, of course, makes its own laws. Some communities, even before colonialism, outlawed it, right? Outlawed it. But it doesn't mean that it's arrow, it means that it's outlawed, it's banned. So if there's a punishment for it, it's between you and humans. It has nothing to do with spirit, right? But there's nothing as far as looking at it says that person can't be gay. The general understanding that I tend to see with a lot of DBS is they attribute it to Uwamiri often. Often. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm saying that it gets attributed to Uwamiri often, right? It gets attributed to aspects of what we can identify as homosexual get are often identified with Obanji, with spirit spouses, those types of things, right? Um, but it's not like a abomination, right? And I can get into the whole conversation of what does that even mean, like what does being gay even mean, but like We're not ready for all that. But for example, now, and another example I always use, and I want to keep these examples fresh because people want to carry their Catholic into Odinani and so forth. And sometimes it's good to like let people know, hey, this is what's going on in this house before they come in with their BS. There's this gentleman by the name of Area Scatter, right? Area Scatter. I think a lot of you guys know about Area Scatter. If you Google Area Scatter Igbo or Area Scatter Nigeria, he's a man, but I guess in the U.S. you might identify him as trans. And what he would do is he would dress as a woman and go about playing music. And he was a healer. He was considered a healer. His music was considered healing and so forth. And everybody generally accepted him. There wasn't a big issue with it or anything like that, right? That kind of thing. So, Nigeria has a very interesting relationship with that concept, right? It's a very interesting, strange relationship with it, right? Like, at a right? You got Bob Risky over here and that kind of thing, but then still people have these attitudes that you'd consider something else. So that's a good question. Thanks for that, Angelica. I know a lady that does masquerade for her gatherings. She's an Ifa initiate. That's dope. That's what's up. Do you know any divination can tell African Americans where their roots are from? I'm AA and Liberian. Afa said that I have Igbo roots, and I'm assuming on my AA side. Yeah, yeah. You can do Afa to see if you can figure that out on Malicha. Um, we have a Debia on Patreon if you want to get Afa done by a Debia. So if you're interested in that, just reach out. I can coordinate that. Um, but yeah, I suppose you can ask Adibia and or you can use Afa to figure out where it's from and so forth. I have a good friend who did that. He figured out that he's from Njaba, from the Njaba region, and he's, to my knowledge, according to a mutual friend, he's there right now, kind of getting integrated into the community. Like he's there right now, or at least he was during the Christmas period, getting integrated into the community and so forth. So it is very possible and it happens all the time. Ademma. How do you spiritually charge an object? There are many ways of doing this, but the question is bigger than maybe you think. It's difficult to answer, but let me the simple answer is there are rituals you can use to infuse spirit into something. Um, and then generally, because a lot of more is tied to what we call like the mental space or the belief space, what you believe about things is what they are. What you believe about things is what they are, and what they become once they start, use ritual, start actualizing that belief. Then it becomes that thing. It becomes spiritually charged and so forth. Also, anything that that has your resonance is spiritually charged by you. But spiritually charging an item, right? Infusing power into an item is a whole science. It is an entire science. So that kind of thing. So we have a traditional medicine class if you're interested, and that's a place you can learn how to do that and how that's done, right? But ritual and then through a fusion of ritual and belief. I love Adolfia Newi, LOL. They have YouTube too, yeah. I just think it's so funny that this horrifying ass masquerade is like a celebrity. But yeah, absolutely. Adolfia Newi is a huge celebrity now. Adolfia Newi was coming to Lagos and it was this big announcement. It was damn near like Kendrick Lamar was coming to Lagos. And because some hating ass Yoruba governor or somebody in Lagos blocked it from coming, and so everybody's like, "What the hell?" But I guess they're trying to like assert that Lagos is their home place, and they don't want a foreign influence, which is Ajofia Newi. But yeah, Ajofia Newi is that boy. Ajofia Newi music sounds scary. What exactly are they saying in their chants? Because a lot of the words have a dark but true meaning, much like if David, such a good question. So let me explain what Ajofia Newi is, right? The Ajofia in a community or the Okento is the forest that anything that has the spirit of abomination is placed into, right? Anything that has the spirit of abomination is placed into. You understand? Human beings, unless they've been covered, do not go into the Ajofia. You understand? The Ajofia has the nature of holding those things. So if something gets put into the Ajofia, let's say somebody, they do like an exorcism, they free a person from a spirit, they will take its figure and its whatever, and they'll put it in the Ajofia. If an abomination is committed, they will collect the sand or the earth or the soil or surface that it was collected on, and they will place it in the Ajofia. So it's holding all of the community's traumas, all of the community's fears, all of the dark things that a community wants to keep over there, you understand, away from itself and so forth, and it holds those things. So what happens is they channel the spirit of that forest, of that okento, of that ajofia, into the masquerade, right? And then it comes out of the ajofia and it walks around the community, right? And it allows all of those dark spirits, all of those things, it allows them all to speak and walk and experience the community, right? And be a part of the community. But at the same time, the forest itself is speaking too. So even though it has a certain sound to it, it sounds scary and it's supposed to, it's natural. That's the spirit you're feeling. That's the Ajofia spirit that you're feeling. It's natural, right? But what it's saying is very wise and very kind and very loving and things like that, right? I'm trying to remember some lines that I can say in English, like I don't know, I don't have Ajofia memorized or anything like that. But things like that, like there's one song where Ajofia is talking about the Ajofia is a very kind and loving boy. The Ajofia has nothing to fear. In fact, the Ajofia is here to keep you from your fears and things like that. But it's saying it like this. It has that vibration, which that's how you're actually supposed to speak Igbo. That's the ancestral, ancient way to speak Igbo, right? So a lot of masquerades will have this certain way of speaking that's like a lot of vibration and like that. So yeah, that's the Ajofia. Very cool masquerade. If you look at the details of what's on it, you'll see like little babies and things like that, like miscarriages, things like that, and all that stuff. So it is the holder of all of the dark things that the community has been haunted by. It walks in the community and lets everybody know, hey, it's okay. We're coming in peace. And then it also shares wisdom. It gives proverbs. It gives like moral lessons. Like there's one where it's talking about how to be a good wife. Um, how to unite two brothers that have fallen out, things like that. A lot of like different proverbs and ilus and things like that. It's like walking through the community, letting everybody know, hey, I'm a nice guy. I don't mean harm. Here are some things that you can learn, this and this and that, and then it goes home. But if you can't hear what it's saying and if you're just seeing it, it's it's like a nightmare. Adumma. All the Niger people are in Houston. Yeah, so yeah, they dress up. Skirts, waist beads, dance around. Singer Queen Adumma. Once you once stated that your chi does not lose. Absolutely. My question is about a person that a life cycle, that live a cycle of the same problem and lesson. What does Nani say about the person in it and the person witnessing the thing? Okay, I think there's something I'm missing in the middle of the statement. So my question is about a person that's a cycle, same problem. Are you saying that like Brandon? Are you saying? Oh, I'm sorry. All smiles be. Are you saying like? Are you saying like a person that just kind of keeps running into the same wall over and over? Is that, I think that's what you're saying. If you have a situation where a person is running into the same wall over and over and over, it's that wall is not of their chi. That's not the paved road. You understand? The paved road is always going to be clear. The paved road is always going to be clear. Your chi is the one that paved the road, right? So if you're running into a tree, you're not on the road, right? And so forth. So What's the Igbo traditional take on adultery and fornication? Joy, I answered it earlier, but I'll just be quick. It's not, that is, those are laws made between the community. Like the community makes its own laws and has its own attitudes about it. It's not necessarily an Odinani thing. Odinani is like science. Odinani is like science. Odinani is science, right? So asking what is the science understanding of fornication, it doesn't really make too much sense, right? But if you can say within what's called omenala or omenale, or yeah, omenala, right? There's odinala, right, which is observation, science, spirituality. Then omenala, which is culture, so on and so forth. Odinala more informs omenala, mado. At the same time, omenala can also inform odinala, and they feed each other symbiotically. So things pertaining to like rules between husband and wife, the community makes that, and so forth. Now, some interesting things I brought up earlier. In most communities, of course, it's forbidden or banned. It's not. It's against the law, right? To do that. There are exceptions as far as communities go, and then the traditional. I forgot to mention this. Traditional marriage is an oath, right? So there's an oath taken and there's a blessing done on the soil and that kind of thing. And so when you violate that, you violate something major, right? When you violate that, you violate something major. So I don't know. Oops. Okay, it's not. Is Omenala and Odenala the same or have slightly different? John, good question. So Odenala is as it is on the land. Omenala is at it as it is done on the land. The D is, right? Is, right? So as it is on the land, the sky is blue, the ground is solid. Omenala, what is done on the land? Because the ground is solid, I can now walk. So I'm going to walk. Omenala, right? Odenala, science, observation, spirituality, that kind of thing. Odenala, what we now call culture, right? What we now call culture, right? They are one and the same, but it's just, you know, science and practical. Science and practical, right? The science and the technology. Because copper conducts electricity at this particular nature, I'm going to use copper wires to build this radio, right? Using the copper wires, the choice to use the copper wires, the building the radio, that's all Omenala. The fact that the copper wires have this particular nature, that is the Odinala. So I hope that makes sense. Where did the thumbnail video come from? Pinterest? I wish I knew. I found it on Pinterest. I didn't see any other details on it, but it looks cool, right? I'd love to see something like that. That looks super cool. Udochi Ndewo. Uh, what do you orphans do in life of parents don't? Okay, what do orphans do in life if parents don't want them? Hmm. Okay, so one of the things I could say as far as that question goes, and let me know if I answered your question, but in most African cultures, it is communal. The culture is communal. So children that are not wanted by their parents still have an entire community of people that do want them. And there are certain expectations that parents have for their children. And very often, when the parents aren't meeting those expectations for one reason or another, the community will intervene and make sure things are being done the way they're supposed to. Like right now, we have my own family. One of my cousins is just exceptionally just brilliant girl, so brilliant, has been her whole life, and it's time for her to go to the university. But her mom doesn't want her to go to university for some reason. Her mom wants her to go study to be to work in a shop, and it's a major limit of her potential. And it's going to make life more difficult for her. Obviously, it's going to perpetuate poverty, and so everybody in the family has intervened to say, "Hey, lady and husband, this we're not gonna have that happen. So, do you need people to pay for it and that kind of thing?" So it's a process we're going through right now. So in a lot of communal cultures, if your parents don't want you, Um, you at least have the shielding of your wider family. You have more than one father in a way. You have more than one mother in a way. It's also very hard in an African context to have a situation where somebody, especially when we're talking something this traditional like Odinala and that kind of thing, it's hard in an African context to have a family that like doesn't want kids because we culturally see children as the purpose of marriage. Children is a purpose of marriage. If you get married and you don't have kids, you're just right? But children are the purpose of marriage. You get married for the sake of having kids. So it'd be weird to get married, build a house, get married, go through all the rigmarole, have the kid, then all of a sudden not want the kid for some reason, one reason. And this is my own culture. There's different cultures in Africa. To have the kid for not have the kid. Having children is also a mark of like personal achievement and personal pride, right? So there's an ilu that says unwata kaoba, which says a child is greater than wealth, right? A child is greater than wealth. So it would be like for an American, it would be like, what if somebody got $1 million and they didn't want it? It's like it'd be really hard to find a person who doesn't want $1 million. You know, right? So it's the same thing. It's hard to find someone who doesn't want children. It's kind of seen as one of the purposes of life. As far as Odinani goes, my dad broke down this thing where because me and him were talking about like how do you know that somebody's chi has been good, right? Somebody has done a good chi. And he spoke about three forms of ipa that you're going to see in that person's life. One of them is ipa mado, right? Ipa is like cultivation. So ipa mado is not only having children, but also like helping people grow, right? Like people around you grow because you exist. People around you improve or their lives get better, or like you come to them and your gift takes them somewhere else that is beneficial and so forth. But the main thing of Ipa Mado is having children and then also uniting families by way of getting married, right? So all three of those things, helping people grow, uniting families by marrying, and then by having children, that's all Ipa. So having children is kind of seen as one of those things that's like, people just, it's not, I don't, as you're not gonna have a situation where you have a kid don't want it. Now there's abusive parents. There are parents that are, you know, they're just parents that are abusive, negligent, all that stuff. There are parents who, in their core, probably like if they lived in a different society, they probably wouldn't want kids. But because of the way they grew up, they just had it. And then now maybe they have a feeling about this kid one way or another. Um, but of course, that's super rare, that kind of thing. So hope that helped. Do, 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 do. Some people act like body parts stop working based on attraction. Well, Phoenix, you may need to maybe elaborate on that, or maybe don't elaborate. I don't know. Where are we going with that? I don't. Okay. Are plates of food are plates of food offered to okay. Yeah, are plates of food offered to spirits and no denying like hoodoo here? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Diana, 100%. Same principle. If I'm eating, let my ancestors eat too, right? I'm not going to eat this food and not have my ancestors eat with me, you know. It's the same principle, right? Same principle. Now, be mindful what you give your ancestors, right? When you give to your ancestors, you're giving your ancestors life. So you give them things that give life, right? You're not taking marshmallows and funyuns to your ancestors. You're giving them the things that give life, and in turn, as you're giving your ancestors life, you're giving yourself life because now you're not eating marshmallows and funyuns and shit. So, I'm done. My man is spitting facts, especially about the spiritually charged items. We don't want to. Do you have a source where we can get good deals on Oseaji Cola and Zoom? I don't have anything. I keep saying I need to set up something, so um, I am stretched a little thin right now, but I'm trying to set up something to make it available for everybody, and then I'll try to make sure my prices are the absolute best. But as of right now, everybody, I always advise people just go to Amazon or go to a local African store. They always have it, and they're inexpensive. Those things are very inexpensive. I mean, um, they won't make it so you can't pay rent. How about that? Or mortgage. Did you answer about Serpa Brown card for the Nigerian naturalization descendants of African diaspora? I don't know anything about that, Diana. So maybe you can educate me on it. Serpac Brown card for Nigerian naturalization for descendants of African. I don't know anything about that. I don't. I know that a lot of the West African countries are opening themselves up for the diaspora to return. So I wouldn't be surprised if such a thing exists, um, and so forth. But I don't know too much about that. Right? Haunted Masquerade mask was for sale on eBay. The holder kept having drains at the figure, and the mask was chasing it. Listen, when I describe things, they sound very grounded and logical and that kind of thing. There's some strange things as far as Odinani goes. And anything they're telling you, I have learned to just go right ahead and believe them. Right. So my question is, if this mask was haunted, why did you want it? Was for sale, kept having the mask was chasing him in the desert. Yeah. So typically I've told people in the past, like be mindful of what you put in your house because who knows what it is and that kind of thing, right? All of those masks, all of those things, they're like they're medicine. They're medicine, they're technology, they're all these different spiritual implements. And oftentimes just like oftentimes you got to know what you're getting before you get it, right? It's not just that, okay, I'm into Africa now, let me just get them all. But sometimes it's not even about not having the thing or having the thing. Sometimes it's about the person, right? So that masquerade knows why it's chasing that person. That masquerade knows why it's chasing that person, right? So that's hilarious. I believe 100% believe it, by the way. 100% believe it. That vibration and the singing is also in the Southern Black. Yes, 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 yes. The Southern Brown Black. Yeah, 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 yeah. 100%, 100%. Yeah. This would explain why Igbo dialect sounds more like vibration. Very interesting. Yeah, it's when you sing, you're supposed to shake a little bit. Your voice is supposed to shake a little bit. But this is like the ancient way. This is like Shakespeare talk, right? This is not how the average person is going to talk, though it's in there. It's in the DNA of the language. So as you're speaking it naturally, you're gonna hear it. But there's this man. He does the news in Igbo. He's on YouTube. I just can't remember his name right now. And when he tells the news, it sounds like this, and that's kind of how you're supposed to speak it. So you'll see a lot of every masquerade is going to talk like that, unless it's one of the ones with the higher pitch voices, that kind of thing, like that kind of thing. But the masquerades are going to sound like that. A lot of times when people do afa, when a dibia does afa, they'll speak to afa like that, right? With that shake. They call it mbem, mbem, Mbem. If you look up Mbem on YouTube, you can find a lot of people who perform Mbem. They have the gift of Mbem. And that's just they can start singing like that and that kind of thing. Like it's singing maybe closer to rapping, right? Where you're rapping in Mbem and you're talking and that kind of thing, right? Masquerades, all these different. That's how they talk. Afa, that's how Afa talks. So like for example, like with the Yoruba tradition, they have Ifa poetry. It's coming from that concept of speaking poetically and with a rhythm, right? It's coming from that's all kind of coming from. So I don't know. Thank you for teaching this entry for us. Okay, you're welcome. I see some Japanese writing. Ninja, where are you messaging from? Where are you messaging from? Ninja from the mixed land. What is the mixed land? When I briefly studied Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, they also stretch the vibration of the voice when calling out the name. Oh, gee, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. But yeah, it's very normal, right? Oh, I didn't know that, Angelica. Thanks for sharing that. I may be based off. I may be off base, but do the Tracians have close principles to marriage? I don't know anything about Tracians. I don't know anything about Tracians. I think Tracians are a type of Greek or somewhere in the Balkans near the Greeks, but I don't know anything about the Tracians. Big up to the family for intervening. Yeah, yeah, it's normal. Normal. That's normal. This we had it relates to this. Back to this, right? We had to when I was in Nigeria last. I think I told the story here before. We had to intervene on another family member. May or may not be the same family, but I'll just say another family member where the dad didn't believe. As you know, growing up in America and things like that, I think there's some autism things going on there, right? So, I think there's a little neurodivergence going there. So I have an uncle who is the most IQ wise, the most high IQ person you ever encounter on planet Earth, right? He learned how to build a radio when he was like 4 or 5. Then from there, he learned how to build satellite dishes. He builds like any electronic, he fixes everybody in the entire town's electronics, things like that. But wouldn't go to school, refused. You'd put him there, and then you'd come back, and he'd be gone, right? So didn't have a formal education, that kind of thing. But like again, just like out there. Anything electrical, you can just look at it and know exactly what's going on, and then put it together, that kind of thing. So we go to if if you want to watch illegal Saudi Arabian satellite channels and movies, you go to his house. And he'll do this with the wires, and all of a sudden now you're watching Turkish, now you're watching American, now you're watching this kind of thing. So we used to go there and watch wrestling, watch all kinds of stuff in his house and stuff like that. And he's made a very comfortable life for himself. But he has these little quirks, right? Because again, I think there's some what we would call autism in the West things going on there. Now that I look at it, right? But one of the things that we were encountering was that everybody had built a bathroom in their house, but he kind of refused. Because he grew up in the Civil War and things like that, so he's used to like going outside and this stuff. And he's kept saying that he doesn't need a toilet. Why would I need a toilet? I can just go outside, that kind of thing, like in the bush. And the whole family had to intervene and force him to build a toilet because it was becoming embarrassing. Because now his progeny and his wife and him, they would just be going through different places in town, and there was this reputation like, okay, here comes those here comes the Ofaruga people again, or borrow. Hey, can I use your bathroom, kind of thing. And people are building like 2-story houses a lot now. So like if you're in the forest and the bush trying to relieve yourself, people can see you. And so the whole family had to intervene and make him build a toilet. So like things like that. It's like a communal living. It's like it has its benefits and if you like the mind your own business kind of life, and you know space and all that stuff, it's tough. It's tough as hell, right? It's very tough. But if the stuff I'm saying is appealing, then it has its benefits, right? I have the worst sinus. Okay, wait, let me go back. I missed some. What do you think of owning a gun? What do you think owning a gun in your dreams entails? Hey, oh baby, eligwe, oh why eligwe, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It might be time to go get a gun. Be careful, of course. Know what you're doing. But it may be time. Your dreams are telling you something. There's nothing wrong with owning a gun. Who knows? Keep being in the dream. I don't think you should be in any rush to like know what it is immediately. But spend time with the dream. It'll reveal itself to you naturally. You can also, if you need, you can use Afa. Try to ask Afa. That's something you can ask Afa or ask Adibia. Like I myself, I'm not a dream reader, so that question's kind of out of my jurisdiction. But I don't think it's a bad thing. It might be time to get a gun. Might be time to learn how to get a gun. Um, Prepare yourself. I have the worst sinus and ear infection recurring for over 5 years. Oh no, suicide. Ooh, any recommendation? I've tried everything. Eek. Um, hey, I think my email is in the description. I think my email is in the description. If you can email me, listen, I'm not going to remember this. So if you can email me, I'll see if there's like we have a traditional medicine for that, and then we'll try to make a connection. Okay. but email me. Or I'm sorry, a traditional mineral vitamin. I can't say medicine, right? Because it's not medicine. It's not medicine, right? So if you need some type of cultural cultural remedy, remedy. If you need a cultural remedy, send me an email. Email me. My email's in the thing. It's my first name, a piece of my last name, and then at gmail.com. Once you email me, I'll try to make a connection for you. Okay. I'll do my Hopefully that works. Please stick in there. I appreciate you for sharing that, but don't please don't take it that far. I love my offsprings. Oh, them. I will never. Woo-hoo. I know that one day when things past could destroy their life, mental ones. Okay, so, okay, maybe. So there's no such a thing as married people who don't. There's no such a thing as married people who don't want. That doesn't exist. Yeah. Hey. There's something I need to show you. Let me finish what I'm doing. Okay. It's like a person that like cooks food and then just puts it on the table and just stares at it until it rots. I don't Which, that person exists, right? That person exists, but no, not wanting kids is not common in African cultures. Now, as we get more exposed to the rest of the world, and things like that, sure, I'm sure it's emerged. I'm sure you can find people, probably mainly diaspora people, city people, but like not having kids is kind of culturally seen as like a tragedy, right? It's like seen as like a bad thing has happened, right? Um, and it's one of those like because I kind of live between two cultures, so it's one of those things where every now and then something will happen that kind of reminds me, that hey, that kind of reminds me of the differences and things like that. Like I remember one of my cousins when I was back home. He's like, I feel really bad for Obama, and I'm like, hey, Nambi, boy, bow, boy. So I remember one of my cousins. He's like, I feel I feel bad for Obama. I was like, why? He's like, he doesn't have a son. I started laughing. I started laughing because from his context, I know what he means. But in the American context, that's not a tragedy. That's like not a bad thing. But yeah, just different cultures, different ways of seeing the world, different wanting different things out of life, right? So yeah, that kind of thing. There's no such thing as married and don't want kids. They'll think that there's something wrong. And then the community will intervene. They'll usually blame the wife. She's trying to deceive my son, kind of thing. kind of thing. They'll try to get you to marry somebody else. The wife's parents will intervene, ask what the hell's her problem, even if it's the husband's decision, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not common. You're not going to see that in an African setting at all. There's no such a thing. There's no such a thing. There's a guy on TikTok that does like at first I was like, bro, what are you doing? But like after I was like, okay, fine, whatever. He does like this, he has this channel where it's like how to identify if your Nigerian boyfriend is like sincere or if it's like a romance scammer. Because a lot of people have like boyfriends that are at home and things like that. And then he says different things that like if this person tells you they don't want kids, just that's not your boyfriend, bro. That's not your husband. That's not your boyfriend. Nothing, right? If they tell you they don't want kids, that's just not. That's not. So culturally, no, it's abnormal. It's not that kind of thing. For what greed, short-sighted to deprive one spouse and community of potential child sounds mad selfish. What else is one relationship for but to fulfill the contract reproductive system? Okay, yeah. That was an old comment. Oh, okay, my bad. Uh, person that lives a life till death, running into the same. Okay, person that lives running into the same, never got the lesson. Grand scheme of life. It's hard to say, but I wouldn't say like again, it's like a paved road thing. So there's a paved road and you keep running into the tree, odds are you're not following the paved road, right? Which you can come back in the next life and hit the tree again over and over and over. It's not but it's not like the Buddhist thing where like once you don't hit the tree, then you turn into like a grasshopper and shit. It's not it's not like that. Whether or not you follow the paved road, if your people bury you, you're coming back again to hit the tree again. So I don't know. In our Black American culture, we glorify baby mama culture and kids born out of wedlock. Bro, the CIA, oh, I'm sorry. I suspect certain agencies are trying to spread that in Africa because there's this this unsavory gentleman that makes videos talking about how you shouldn't get married, you should just do baby mom. And I was like, okay, who sent you to say this? But yeah, anyways, let me continue. Uh, see how I goes. So I don't think you can relate to my question culturally. Maybe not. How are you doing? Wait, hold on. If the action doesn't bring life, then what is it? That's hilarious. With apprenticeship system, Section 8 is made me. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Shouldn't cease to glorify. Kids need their dad and the energy that comes with him. Yes, absolutely. And the dad needs the kids to become so absolutely. There you go. There you go. Who's glorifying in America? You should look at this. Yeah, yeah, a lot of that stuff is just stereotyping. If you look at the details, if you look at the details of it, you'll see that most statistics about Black people in America is just BS propaganda. My mom says that autism is obanje. It's funny because when I made my obanje video, I had a lot of people who are autistic be like, "Yeah, dude, that's me." So a lot of autistic people like, "Yeah, that's me," and that kind of thing. So who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe there's a parallel there. But yeah, my uncle, he has like this like Einstein brain, but then he just like has these little random quirks that would you I guess you can classify as setting the person back, but that's how he wants to live, so it's whatever. My dad, because of he's so skilled with electronics, my dad sent him to Belgium when they were younger, so that he could like, start a career there and all that stuff. My dad said it wasn't even 4 days that he came back. He just found his way back. And my dad's like, what the hell? Why'd you come back? He's like, day is cold. And he only wants to live in the village. He wants to have his like, nice middle class kind of bungalow. Um, he wants to do his electronic work. He doesn't want to have a bathroom. Hates conflict. Doesn't want to have like doesn't no fighting, nothing like that, and so forth. Just very has these very specific quirks. Will not go to the city. Will not go to the city if in the city becomes super uncomfortable. Won't eat at like restaurants and things like that. Very specific quirks. I'm looking back at at home. It's just kind of funny, but now seems kind of neurodivergent. I'll do my cool ass guy. Cool ass guy. I remember when I first came to America and I saw the Fresh Prince, and that's exactly who and what he looked and dressed like before I left. Right. So I was like, oh, this is my uncle. I'm not gonna say the name, but it's my uncle, this person, that kind of thing. And I remember it was just that was really cool. But it was just like he looks like, he's older now, but he looked like when he was younger and dressed exactly like Will Smith from the Fresh Prince. But then he have all these little funny little quirks. I never mind. Uh, do a video on how to do self divination step by step. Oh, Diana, that's a good question. Maybe, maybe, maybe. I'll think about it. The best way, Diana, the best way to get a video is like go to any of my videos I've already made and just leave a comment saying, "Do a video," or "Can I get a video on self divination?" When I make the videos, I go and check what people have been asking for since the last video, and then because YouTube will give you the list of comments, and then I put that up for vote. So the best way to do it is there. And then, okay, where are we at? Steroids. Okay, we're talking about the ear thing. Okay. My DBA in Anambra states a new mandate now requires. Yeah, so the governor there, Anambra has been very, very fortunate to have a series of very good governors. And then they got this guy who had proposed himself as like an intellectual and a professor his whole career. And it comes to find out he's just a very dumb bastard. Because once he became the governor, he has spent his entire tenure obsessing about shrines and dibyas. Like it's the weirdest thing you'll ever see on planet Earth. But I think a lot of them Christians are getting stressed because people aren't going to church anymore, right? They're like, what the hell, that kind of thing. So now his new thing is that DBS have to register and they have to have a permit and they, all these like he making all these weird rules, which like they're not gonna be there's just gonna be, oh, you're a DBA arrest. Oh, you're a DBA arrest, right? Um so yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody in Anambra is ready for him to leave. He's just the stupidest bastard on planet Earth. But unfortunately, yeah, DBS and Anambra have to register now. So yeah, I feel bad for them. I'm from Imo, so we're chilling so far, anyways. But yeah, Anambra has had like good governor, good governor, good governor. Then just like this guy comes just to set everything back, you know, and has been proposing himself as this like super intellectual this whole time, economist, and hasn't done anything except just like chasing devious through the forest. But I'm not worried. Anyways, we'll see. Watch what happens in the next 5 years, right? Watch what happens, right? You're gonna be like, oh wow, yeah. There's a thing called awful noble, right? So just watch what happens in the next 5 years. The old comment was, but yeah, Diana, your devious telling the truth. Unsavory dude complaining uh, about my earlier comment one about gay people not being able to have kids. Same unsavory dude who was complaining. Okay. What do you think about seeing the pattern number 11 every day? What does this symbol mean? Okay, so I'm actually working on a series of videos on numerology right now. I just released a video on numerology. I think it says like Igbo numerology explained or something like that. It's my most recent video, and it goes from 1 to 4. My next video is going to be going from 5 to 8, and then after that 10 to that kind of thing, just going in order. So I will eventually make a video explaining 11, but it's a lot. I kind of don't want to explain it here. I don't want to go into it. It's a lot. Early registration, so DBAs will be state employee-ish. Dude, it's just nonsense. There's a hidden comments, and then the person asked me if I knew if my mom was gay, so I thought it was funny. I voluntarily live in an unheated cabin with no bathroom. I voluntarily live in an unheated cabin with no bathroom in my parents' yard because it's nice and quiet and no people. I'll do my everybody has the thing that they like. But yeah, you and my uncle would probably get along. Because it sounds like something he would do. Right? Yeah, he can build an air conditioner out of sticks and rocks. And he's not gonna put one in his house. Oh shit. Mbe is beautiful. Hold on. So if you want, geez, that's funny. So if you, so if you want to, though I can kind of see where he's coming from because I hate that humming. Any guy makes a humming noise, I can live without. It grinds against my thoughts too much. So if you want to not have kids, then you should, yeah. If you want to not have kids, then you shouldn't get married. But you won't be left alone if you're single for so long. I'd perish in a communal or never come around at all. Yeah, there's not. in Nigeria, you don't there's no such a thing as I'm just getting married for the vibes, is you're specifically trying to have kids, right? And you'll notice it too, the when you get married, your people will start treating it like a marriage once kids come out, right? Once you see kids. The minute the marriage, like the ceremony is over, they'll then start saying, okay, when are you guys gonna have, it's just immediately um, and then even like my dad was even like, yeah, it's smart to get your wife pregnant, then start the marriage or the wedding, just so you know it's politics. So that's super, super, super important, right? That's like the point. That's the whole point, right? Nobody would ever get married for the vibes, that kind of thing, just to be arguing with just to be arguing with somebody in a damn apartment, for no reason. But yeah, just wearing condoms till you die and shit. Americans are bugged out. Oh shit. I don't think being a private individual to American level is allowed in the communal society, not even in the 1920s communal America, right? Yeah. So will you be offering herbalism? So our traditional medicine class goes into herbs and things like that, like what different plants and what they do and so forth. So we have a DBA that teaches a traditional medicine class. We're going to be starting it at the end of February, like the next session, the end of February. So if you're interested, go to kedu.com. Or if you join like Patreon at the highest tier, you can just walk in for no additional cost, right? So but yeah, we the traditional medicine class does teach about herbs and medicine, plants, that kind of thing. I want to have financial freedom this year. He say, how can my Ikenga, intuition, and work ethic help? Damn, hot shit, dozie. Odogu, 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 odogu. Hey, no problem. Um, the main thing about the Ikenga, is the Ikenga is fed by victory, and the Ikenga is your weapon. So you let the Ikenga know which direction you're heading. You let the Ikenga know what's gonna happen, how it's gonna be, and then the most simple Ikenga ritual I can give you is you offer something to your Ikenga that is difficult for you to attain. You know what, Chia Dozie, let's have a one-to-one. Let's talk because I'm about to give you some heavy, 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 heavy jewels. But the simple commercial version is you offer something to your Ikenga and you promise something that you can't currently attain, right? At the end of the road. Then once you reach the end of the road, you would have grown to the point where you can attain that thing and you give it to your Ikenga and you go to the next mission. So, message me. Let's have a one-to-one if you're interested. They did the same thing with midwives and herbalists in America. They made it mandatory for certification, so it died out. Yeah, so the intention is to kill it out. So they're going to, because he's already harsh and persecutory to them. And so what he's going to do is, okay, now you have to register. And then they're going to harass you. Oh, you don't have a license. Then when you have a license, they'll know, okay, there's one right there. Go get them. So they're trying to kill it out. Hopefully the next person repeals it, but Nigeria is not big on like doing the right thing. So we'll see. But it's nonsense. It's just stupidity. He's a bastard, dude. I don't know, just the worst idiot ever. I feel bad for a number, but our governor is horrible too. So, but he's horrible in like a weird way. Our guy's horrible in like, okay, he just steals money and he's violent, okay, which is normal. So yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother. Stay blessed. Who don't want that? Imagine. Okay, cool. Hey, what does it mean to see a python dance to Ogene in a dream? That is heavy. So all the symbols there are very heavy. I am not a dream reader, so this is out of my jurisdiction. But if you want to talk to the DBO, we have a DBO on Patreon. He can give you an interpretation of that. I will say this though, the python. Um, let me not say too much. Yeah, I can't interpret. I can't interpret the dream, but the dream sounds good and it sounds heavy. I'll do more. You were talking about the unsavory dude trying to spread baby. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. This is just a rascal of an individual. I don't, it's just like, bro, what are you doing? Like, this is your mission, but all right, it's whatever. Okay. I can't stand humming, dishwasher, flushing. The worst is like the vents, like you like the vents on the stove where like it blows air to like for like smoke or whatever. It was I can't stand that thing. That shit drives me crazy. Or I'm okay with dishwasher. No, I'm not okay. Actually, no, I'm not okay with dishwasher. Funny enough, I was thinking of washing machine. I'm okay with washing machine for some reason, but not dishwasher. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Same thing, same pain. How often do you have to appease water spirit, bear wife? Okay, so me and Debias have some words about this appeasement of a word, right? Husband, spirit, all that water stuff once, one time. If you have to do it again, the next ritual you should do is just cutting the tie, severing it, getting rid of it, right? You should not be beholden to the random whims of random ass spirits. And I think a lot of DBAs tend to like be okay with that being somebody's understanding of Odinani. That's why I say if you're trying to like learn Odinani, I wouldn't start with like DBAs, right? A DBA is a problem solver. And so the problem solver is always going to look for a problem to solve. But you should only appease one time. You only need to do that one time. Like, what are we appeasing? Like imagine I have a spirit wife and she's sitting there harassing me up and down. What are you, Hitler? Well, I gotta appease you. Fuck out of here. You don't calm your ass down. But that's just my own attitude towards it. You only need to do it once. And if it didn't work the first time, then whoever you're talking to doesn't know what they're doing. I don't know. I'd just be arguing. Y'all could get along and not necessarily like it. And okay, she'll be on birth control, sitting there growing weird stuff out of her head. Not you know what I mean? Like circadian rhythms all screwed up. And get mood swings, delirious. Also, I can do what? Not have kids? I don't know. It's hold on, honey. Yeah, no, thank you. Oh shit. Yeah, you can get neutered now. Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, I don't even get flu shots. Uh, we all need the heavy Kengak you say. What actually do people mean when they say women can only, okay, what actually do they mean? Okay. uh, the Ikenga is masculine energy, right? So when you get these answers, you have to think about the society the answer is giving it from. If the women start getting masculine energy and they start crashing out, then this is not gonna work so well, right? So the best way to put it is a man's omomo is his wife, a woman's ikenga is her husband. And so if we need Ikenga in the house, we go to that guy. If we need Omomo in the house, we go to this woman. But this is America, right? So we live differently. We got different ways of setting things up and that kind of thing. So somebody from the society will say, or from back home will say that and get it through your husband. But like, it's it. Let me tell you a story, right? This is the story as to why Chuku sends men to war and not women. And in the beginning of time, right, in the ancient days, there was a community that had a neighboring community, right? And the neighboring community got into a quarrel with one of the sons of the original community. And they killed the son of the original community. And so the community who lost their son became extremely angry, very angry, right? And they went to Chuku and they said that we want to go to war. We want to attack these people. This is the first war ever waged by human beings, right? They want to attack these people. And Chuku said, okay, but who amongst you will go to war, right? Between the men and the women. And the women said, we'll go, we'll go, we'll go. And Chuku said, okay, go. And so Chuku sent the women to war, right? And the women came back with 10 heads of their enemies, right? They had killed their enemy and removed 10 of their heads. And they came back and they were disappointed, right? They told Chuku that we went to war and there was hundreds of them, but we only came back with 10 heads, right? And so the next battle, Chuku said, let me send the men. And Chuku sent the men. And Chuku sent the men, and the men came back with one head. But all the way back, they were singing, they were celebrating, we're the winners, we're the winners, we're the winners. And Chuku said, why do you call yourself the winner? And the men said, well, we came back with this head. We went there and we came back with this one head. And Chuku made a decision at that point. Right? Going forward, we're only going to have men go to war. Because if we have women go to war, humanity would it would be the end of humanity. So in Nigeria, aggression is associated with femininity, right? Aggression is associated with femininity, right? So the idea of adding more Ikenga sauce to that is like a recipe for disaster, is the way they see it, right? Because women can be very confrontational and aggressive. Now in the West, I believe the belief here is that men are confrontational and women are passive, which I don't think that's true, right? I don't think that's true at all. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So they don't want the women to wow out. What do you guys think? I'd be interested in hearing what you guys take. One of the things that interests me is like different perceptions of gender and the different cultures and things like that, right? But back home, things like fighting, arguing, conflict, like being comfortable with conflict is seen as more of a feminine thing, right? So I'll dip. I love theta wave humming. Okay, I love theta wave and delta wave. I love that kind of humming for some reason. I'm talking about the electronic humming. Like I don't like vents, like the sound of vents. It's distracting for me. Potential study group activation of Ikenga for real power. Okay. Ah shit. Yeah. Why do all the women want Ikenga? What are you gonna do with Ikenga? All right. Who are you trying to fight? It was a beautiful dream. Two of them faced off. They were dancing each other. Oh, that's dope. That's super dope. Some of you guys' dreams, I wish I can see them as well. How can black obsidian crystal help one spiritually? I don't know too much about crystals. I reach out to my crystal gang and my Patreon community, and they educate me every time I need to know something about crystals. So we have, okay, we have people in our Patreon community that know different things, and I got a couple of people that these are the crystal experts, and they always help me whenever I need questions. But I'm asking them. I can't teach you anything about crystals. So if anybody knows about crystals, I'm a Z just asked, what does black obsidian crystal help with? So if anybody can answer that for them, that'd be great. Yeah, I don't know what you guys mean, but it sounds laundry aisle in stores used to. What do I mean by that? Sounds like electronic humming. Like from like that little vent above the stove that you turn on when there's too much smoke. That sound, I can't stand that sound. So things like that. But some humming is not that bad. Like those like theta wave, delta wave, ones that you'll hear like on YouTube and stuff like that. I love those. They're good. Who is this DBA? Can we talk with, meet him before agreeing to do alpha with him? I need to vet those online. Oh yeah, absolutely. On my chat, just reach out to me. I'll coordinate that. Yeah, for sure. I get it. Create financial freedom. Intention can't go. Master see what. Hey, legacy. Cheers, Ogade, one day, Ogade. Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure where to reach you. You can email me, first name Derick, and then OFOD at gmail.com. Or you can message me on like the different social media that I'm on, just not Instagram. I don't check. It's like giving me a headache. Um, okay, I don't know what that's saying. Recently, I found out personally that I was born on Afo Market Day. He said, um, also online. He said, I had Python come to our place of residence in 2020. What did I say that was? In 2021. But we ended up burning. Ah, God. Yeah, fuck. Ugochukwu, why'd you guys burn it? What was that about? Whew. Ugochukwu, where are you from? What town are you from? Because I think that's Aro. It's Aro in my town. So you need to give it a funeral. You need to give the python a funeral. Omalicha, maybe okay. I remember this story. Yeah. All going on Kedu site says, oh damn it. Okay. My L, thank you for letting me know that. I need to change that. Please message, like, reach out somehow. I don't know if you're on Patreon. I don't know if you want to email me. It's my first name, DerickOFOD@gmail.com. Email me there. And then so we can stay in touch while I fix that. I'm not gonna do it tonight because I want to go to bed. But I'll fix that soon. So my bad on that. My bad on that. Our ladies in America can thrive and prosper and gain power through their husbands. Polygyny can save us too, he said. Agreed. Amazing story. Makes perfect sense. Actually, women carry that energy far beyond men. I don't, there's, okay, so as a man, right, you have that energy and you're spending your entire life cultivating it and learning how to live with it and work with it and that kind of thing, right? And I think women have it too, but that's not their path. So they don't like, I'm going to tell you now, or let me not, I think we're not ready for that conversation. But yeah, I just don't think, I don't know how to put it, but I don't think you learn how to like master it as a woman, right? Because it's just not seen as your path, or it's just not. And so it comes in a very like yeah. And then there's also like women also do like women like exceeding the mark. Like whatever the mark is, women will exceed that mark. So if it's some like if it's some like go to war, like they're gonna, you know, in theory, according to the story, right? But the story makes perfect sense to me. I know what the story is conveying. Trying to fight the men. All right, we know, we got an eye on you. And turn of okay. Women are asking about Ikenga maybe because they're in the West and society has made them focus on so many more masculine energy. No, Emeka, you are 100% correct. You're 100% correct. Because masculine energy does factory work. It does this. And it does it really fast. So that's the good one. That's the good one. Anything else is a waste of time, right? Anything is strong, 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 produce, 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 do, right? That's the one that you can milk in a factory the most, you know. That's the one you can get money out of from another person. So maybe that kind of thing. So yeah, of course, that's the focus, right? Produce, 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 kind of thing. And then there's this thing in the West where the man thing is good, the woman thing is bad, and they're not equal. And because of that, if I say something is for men, something's for women, I think people tend to ask me about the male one more than the woman one. You know, there's really nothing. I used to be like, no, 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 forget about that. Look at this, you know. But I've come to learn there's really nothing I can do about that. That's hard. That's hard wiring, right? Hard wiring, right? And the person has to make the choice to let go of that hard wiring, right? You know, I don't know why a young woman would want to be more like a man. I think being a woman is such a special thing. such an incredible thing. Unless you're like, I don't know, like unless you like chicks or something. Unless, like unless you're, what's the term? Like unless you're like queer of some sort, different variations where that would make more sense. But most young ladies, I think you'd be better served by figuring out that the woman thing rather than like not figuring out the woman thing and not figuring out the man thing, but having both on your lap. You're just gonna drive yourself crazy and attack people a lot. So actually, looking at history, women have wield huge amounts of power through their husbands and sons. Women wield power without their husbands and sons. Women wield power without their husbands and sons. The husbands and sons can give them more power, but they definitely wield it without the husbands and sons. I think one of the reasons this is a missed point is because in the West, when we tell history, history is always about cool men, right? So it's like what the cool men were doing at that time, and we'll try to act like that was what was completely going on, right? Like I always use the example of the Russian Revolution. The Russian Revolution started, or it officially, the government fell when the women decided enough was enough because either there was a bread shortage or something happened with the price of bread. And the women said, it's over. Boom, the czar was gone, right? Y'all saw what happened to Derek Jackson. Right? The men the whole time, get rid of this guy is a scammer, get rid of this guy. The ones the women said, who the what? You cheated on your wife? Gone. You know what I mean? So no, women have always had power. I think there's this narrative that they don't have power and they have to like get more. And power is defined as like being a man, right? In the West. And so that's the only, like everything, like for example, now like even like cooking, right? Like cooking gets framed as like some kind of slavery, right? Some kind of slavery, but when a man does it, he's a chef. You understand? Like if a wife does it, she's like a slave. But if a man does it, he's like Emerald. He's like man, maybe a smile. Who's the new chefs? People like Gordon Ramsay, right? That kind of thing. But if a woman does it, it's like a subservient. She's gonna be cooking. Right? All right. People have died on these meals. Boy, chill out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think that's just how things are framed in the West. Like the woman thing is the bad one, or it's like the lesser one, and it doesn't have power. And power equals man, and that's not true. That's not what's going on. So all of those things are BS. Even this shit about like, even all this like, okay, I think it's reaching that time where I start ranting about bullshit. But even this thing about like um gender role, like oh the man provides for the that has never happened in history. I hope everybody knows that. That has never happened in history. That is not it is not historically accurate that the man provides for the woman. It has never happened. It has never happened. It has never happened. It has never happened. Okay. Okay. Traditionally, people dealt in units of family. So it's like taking modern social construct and moving it into the past and then trying to make sense of what's going on. And that can get you confused. But traditionally, people operated within families. If your family was rich, right, you married another rich person. This idea of the man paying what bills, not everything was monetized. You understand? Not everything was monetized. If your family was poor, you marry another poor person. And both of your poor asses are gonna milk some cows and till some land. And one of the bills you pay the damn sheriff tax, and we're talking about Europe because why not? You pay the sheriff tax like once a year, right? Is that the bills? Right? So this thing about the man, it was a thing that was proposed between the late 1800s and the 19 what's World War II 40s 30s, and it was proposed because there was this new thing emerging called the middle class. And it's like, okay, how are we going to organize this middle class? Well, what if it's like a half rich, half poor class where The wife reflects the leisure class that doesn't have to work, and the husband reflects the non-leisure class that has to work, the peasants that have to work, right? So he goes out there and he works and he comes back and the wife stays home and da da da. But that shit, they tried it and then a war broke out and they said, oh, oops, get her ass back to work, get her ass back to work, and that was the end of it. It was over, right? So there's no historical precedent for any of that bullshit, right? It's something that poor people married poor people, both of their poor asses worked, right? To the extent that a poor person is going to work, whatever work was available, you understand. So every pot we find historically, well, not every, let me not say every, I'm generalizing, it is well understood by archaeologists that from the time of where we had multiple hominids till now, if you find a pot, it's probably made by a woman. So this idea of like staying home watching television while the husband goes out and that shit's not real. It's not real, right? So don't let these little social media bullshit. It's never happened. It was proposed in magazines and American advertising as a new American way of life, and then a war broke out and it hit the fan. Like Mike Tyson says, everybody has a plan until you get hit in the face. You understand, right? Everybody has a plan to get, and they got hit in the face, and like, oh shit, that shit doesn't work. Get her ass back to work, go fight, that kind of thing. So it's never happened. Thanks for your time. I needed to rant. I'm on Patreon. Reach out. Thank you, Mai. I'm from Bonnewi. Dennis, you guys kill pythons and Newi. I don't believe you do. I think you just did is heavy arrow. Is heavy arrow. Please, please, go to the proper people and get that thing. Have the abomination cleansed. That thing is heavy arrow. I don't believe you guys kill python in Newi. It is heavy, heavy, heavy arrow. Please, please settle that first. Settle that first. That's your main thing. Don't worry about anything else except that. I don't even know how that's. Anyways, yeah. So ladies keep forgetting about all power. Yes, keep forgetting about it. I don't know why. Oh, Monica, Monica. Oh, Monica, Ndewo. Okay, Ndewo, Monica. Can you remind me of why women typically aren't allowed to attend masquerades like Ajofia and Newi? Yeah. So certain masquerades, women are not permitted or don't attend, right? These masquerades are you so a lot of masquerades are what we in the West would call demons, right? I had a person reach out to me and say that there's this pastor saying that the masquerades are demon. Is he wrong? I'm like, no, he's correct. We just have a different attitude towards them than like maybe an Abrahamic person would. And our own is we establish control over the thing, right? We figure out what it wants and we allow it to do that thing in a controlled and safe way. Very similar to inoculating yourself or vaccinating yourself, where you virus and you put a safe version in your body so that it protects you from uh, other versions of that virus entering your body, right? So you take this thing that was ordinarily dangerous and then you kind of neutralize it to an extent and it becomes a masquerade and then it roams your community. Now one of the ways we keep that thing from re-entering the world in its unsafe form is you keep it away from women, right? And so oftentimes, or not oftentimes, the general idea is because women have the all power, you can make things that you take into the world reality. So you take in this version of it, and all of a sudden that problem is back, and so forth, right? So the general control on that is certain masquerades, like the dangerous ones, women don't watch. Um, they can also attack you, right? They can also attack you and beat you and that kind of thing. And then kids don't watch. And then most of those ones, the real rule back in the day was that uninitiated men didn't watch it. So if you didn't have a title, or if you weren't initiated into the masquerade society that controls it, if it's coming, they have a person ahead of time says the masquerade's coming, get out of the way, the masquerade's coming. And everybody goes and hides and that kind of thing. But yeah, the like so, and then every masquerade comes in two forms. There's the dark form that women don't watch, and then there's the form that's specifically for like women, kids, and the general public and that kind of thing. And so they both enter the community at the same time and they leave at the same time, right? And that kind of thing. So that's really it. Most of the masquerades that women don't watch, they'll come out at night, right? They'll come out at night. A lot of people will just tell you that women can't watch masquerades in general. That's bullshit. It's not true. Um, most masquerade, a lot of masquerades are depicting women, right? That ekeleke I was speaking of earlier, it's feminine. You'll see on the heads a bunch of little woman figures, right? Ooh, Ooh Society. I'm a member of Ooh, the Ooh Society. Ooh, it's danced by men, but the Ooh is women. But when Ooh comes out, Okurusha comes out as well. And Okurusha is not watched traditionally not watched by women, though now they have like cute, friendly Okurusha that everybody watches, that kind of thing. So that's what that is. Thick and well. The name cracks me up. Obsidian. Okay, cool. Yeah, we peep game. Man's power can spawn till them boyfriend. Yeah, I think it's Salt Bay. Salt Bay. Yeah. I should have said Salt Bay. We don't kill pythons. I'm from Olo. My brother. I'm from Olo Zone. Anyways, I'm from Olo Mama. I'm from Olo Mama. Yeah, we don't kill python. I don't think they kill python in Newi. So one day, if you guys set a python on fire for whatever reason, please get that settled first. That's not right. Have you ever? But you can't tell an owl mama man that you killed a python and expect him to talk about anything else. That's we have to we have to get that. You just told me you killed a man, so we got to get that dealt with first. So, have you ever explained why you don't break RG at night? So no, go ahead. It's fine. It's cool. Why you don't break RG at night? I myself, I don't know. I just learned fairly recently you don't break it at night, and then I thought back to it. I've never seen anybody break it at night, and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I don't know, but I do know that it's broken in the sun. Most How do I put it this way? I think there's a thing about OG that's almost like it's a person, right? And I know that when you're burying a person, you don't bury a person at night. You don't bury a good person at night. You don't bury a good person at night. You bury somebody maybe who's done abominations or somebody who did not have a graceful or a good death at night. But you don't bury a good person at night. So I think there's a connection between that kind of thing. Are there rituals to perform when babies are born? Yeah, absolutely. Adopted? Yeah, absolutely. Something akin to christening? Yep, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So, naming ceremony. Um, and I'm not going to go into detail because I'm running out of energy. But a naming ceremony is one. You can take the child to the river. That thing they do in Lion King that they introduce the baby to the sun, the sky. That's one. But Dion, I know you're on Patreon, so if you want to message me there, we can go into detail. We talk about it there. But I'm getting really sleepy. So you guys, it's been a great discussion as always. Or before I do that, we're about to start our Igbo language class. I think we have three seats left in Igbo one. But Igbo 2 and 3, there's a lot more seats. And then if you guys got little nephews and nieces and kids, yeah, we still have seats available for Kedu Kids, our kids class. So yeah, go ahead and get signed up. If you're also interested in the traditional medicine class, I need to fix the website or I need to update the website. Thanks for pointing that out, Monica. Um, but message me on Patreon so I can know who's trying to get in. So I can just let you know, hey, it's fixed now and that kind of thing. So either way, as always, I don't have any new babies yet, but I'm hopeful. He said, all right, it shall happen. Yeah, it'll happen. As always, no geto, gobble a homo tiriaka, o gade no wa, gadi otu aneke, lorie, na fo, na kwa. He said, Jishika.